The first presidential debate, well, it's going to be kicking off in a little over 2 hours from now, and we're going to be broadcasting it live starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, for the past 60 years, debates have been a big part of the election cycle. The first one, you may remember, that was 1960. We had Richard Nixon squaring off against John F. Kennedy, and it got monster ratings. 60% of all TV households, they tuned in, which translated into nearly 70 million viewers. But we're talking Super Bowl territory. Think about it. For a little history lesson and what we can learn from the past, let's bring in RFL's executive producer, Larry Epstein.
Thank you, Rich. Let's start 4 years ago. Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, round one. Lester Holt of NBC News moderated. It featured exchanges just like this one.
So you've got to ask yourself, why won't he release his tax returns? And I think there may be a couple of reasons. First, maybe he's not as rich as he says he is. Second, maybe he's not as charitable as he claims to be. Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes.
Earlier this month, you said she doesn't have, quote, a presidential look. She's standing here right now. What did you mean by that?
She doesn't have the look. She doesn't have the stamina. I said she doesn't have the stamina. And I don't believe she does have the stamina. To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina.
Well, as soon as he travels to 112 countries and negotiates a peace deal, a ceasefire, a release of dissidents, an opening of new opportunities in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee, he can talk to me about stamina.
In the second debate, Trump stalked Hillary, as you can see right there. Didn't really faze her at all. It was also one of the nastiest debates with exchanges like this one.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Polls taken after each one of those debates showed Hillary winning each and every one of them. But of course, with Trump being Trump, he declared victory anyway, even though he didn't. And as you can see from these trend lines from 538, Hillary gained ground after each and every debate, but we all know how that one turned out. Okay, enough of that one. Let's go on to happier times. 2012, Obama versus Romney. President Obama cruised into the debate with a solid lead, but he got crushed by Mitt. Romney went on the attack. Obama looked detached. He was shuffling papers. He was looking down. He was really just off his game. Check out these numbers. Before, Obama was up by 9 points. Afterwards, it evaporated. A dead heat. Now I want to show you some debate moments that were game changers, and they also could tell us something about what we might expect from tonight. 1980. Ronald Reagan challenging President Jimmy Carter. Carter was challenging Reagan about Medicare, and Reagan came up with a comeback that people are still talking about.
These are the kind of elements of a national health insurance important to the American people. Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again. When I opposed Medicare, there was another piece of legislation meeting the same problem before the Congress. I happened to favor the other piece of legislation and thought that it would be better for the senior citizens and provide better care than the one that was finally passed.
There you go again. Reagan never looked back. He crushed Jimmy Carter. Then let's fast forward to 1988. George H.W. Bush versus Mike Dukakis. In the second and final debate, only two that year, pundits at the time said this moment killed Dukakis.
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard, and I think you know that I've opposed the death penalty during all of my life. I don't see any evidence that it's a deterrent, and I think there are better and more effective ways to deal with violent crime. We've done so in my own state.
So cringeworthy. Believe it or not, Dukakis was actually leading that race over the summer. But by September, Bush jumped ahead, and he had momentum going in that just kept climbing and climbing, climbing after the debates, especially after that gruesome moment.
And you know what? I remember that, and God, I'm getting old, but it was Bernard Shaw, as people saw. It wasn't Bush didn't ask the question, and there wasn't that human moment. from Dukakis,
Right.
either to call out the moderator for the question he thought was out of bounds, or saying something like, listen, I'm not for the death penalty, but I'd want to kill the SOB myself with my own hands if he did that. There was none of that humanity. So we had, from 4 years ago, Hillary was challenged by Trump in one of the many exchanges. This is how she chose to respond.
We have no leadership. And honestly, that starts with Secretary Clinton.
All right, you have 2 minutes on the same question to defend tax increases on the wealthiest Americans, Secretary Clinton.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not? Just join the debate by saying more crazy things. Now, let me say,
Hey, there's nothing crazy about not letting our companies bring their money back into their country.
This is Secretary Clinton's 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, well, let's start the clock again, Lester.
I have a winning temperament. I know how to win. She does not have how to win.
Clinton.
Wait, the AFL-CIO the other day, behind the blue screen, I don't know who you were talking to, Secretary Clinton, but you were totally out of control. I said, there's a person with a temperament that's got a problem.
Secretary Clinton.
Woo, okay.
There's going to be a moment tonight. We already know that he's going to be pushing back on Hunter Biden's going to come up. Whether it's, I don't think Wallace will go there with a question that's not one of the 6 categories, but Trump will go there no matter what the question is, Larry. Do you think if Biden swings hard, we talked about this earlier this hour, it's going to hurt him or help him? That human moment we saw with Dukakis.
I think what Biden needs to do is acknowledge what Trump is doing is nuts. Hillary handled it perfectly. She was dismissive. It angered him. I think he should come back at him, but then pivot and say, let's talk about the issues instead. You can deal with all of these personal attacks, which America does not need right now.
It will be, I think, by far the most highly watched of the 3 debates, and with people voting already so early, probably, very possibly, the last big chance here to have both of them on the same stage to impact the vote. Larry, thank you. When we come back, we'll have an update on COVID, including how politics getting in the way of science, and that could break up the COVID task force. We'll have more after this.